All right, are we ready to start the other part?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you're gonna have him up there more?
No, we got a bit more instructions on what he did forensically to the Q6, which is going to be the imaged hard drive. And then once we get through that, we're going to move that forward slightly.
Okay.
I'm going to have him, with the board's permission, move here so that he can see the actual video while we're playing the video and explain certain segments of it.
Okay.
Is that okay with the
All
board?
right, yeah, and everything that he's gonna do comports with Judge Lewis's ruling
There's been no ruling from Judge Lewis
on
his,
Mr. Koenig?
on his testimony.
That's correct.
Okay. Was there a hearing on his?
It was not on his.
Oh, okay.
No,
All right, because I have,
that was on Knox, the crime scene
No,
expert.
that was Emil.
No, I'm saying
Yeah.
she was wondering if there had ever been a motion on an expert that wasn't what we've talked about. That was
Okay.
Knox.
okay. Knox, we still have to hear, I know.
Yes,
And Mr. Emmel was ruled on.
right.
Okay, but there was no Daubert on Mr. Koenig? Okay. I know I've reviewed his testimony recently.
He testified for us in the Emil issue.
Okay, that's what it was. That's what it was. I knew
If
I'd
that's,
seen
yes,
it
yes.
recently.
Yes, he
his testimony
testified
and-
for us,
okay.
but it wasn't
Okay.
against him.
Okay, that's where the issue
That's
was.
one of the statements previous here.
Yes.
Not going to identify anything, just
No, he's not. Your Honor, just so the court knows, forensic experts like Mr. Koenig, they don't identify what's in the video. That's left up to the jury. All he's going to do is he's going to tell the jury what he did,
Okay.
obviously, to these videos in order to play them as they're going to be played.
Okay. All right. Linda.
Jurors in the courtroom, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay. Jurors may be seated. All jurors are present and accounted for.
Thank you, Deputy. Ladies and gentlemen, were you all able to abide by my instructions during the recess? All right, very good. Thank you. Mr. Escobar?
Thank you. Mr. Koenig, the imaged hard drive that you received concerning the Cobb Theater videos, did you label that Q6?
Yes, specimen Q6, that's the system the FBI uses, and we've continued it. Q means a question piece of evidence, so this would be the sixth one we received from your office.
Okay. And so let's talk a little bit about what you did in reference to that video surveillance, and we're going to talk about things concerning forensically enlarging and forensically enhancing a video surveillance, actual video. Please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what enhancement means.
Enhancement, you're talking about video enhancement,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay. Is to try to make the scene easier to see. You're stuck with a number of pixels. You can't change how many pictures you have per second, but you try to so in this case, basically, I think all of them were done this way. We lightened the dark areas. There's a tool in Photoshop called shadow highlight. So you can either take the highlights that are very white and make them less white, or you can take the darkest areas and make it light. It doesn't affect the whole picture, just those areas. This one, the highlights, we did virtually nothing on. So we made it lighter. What happens with the compression, that one of the side effects of it is it lowers the contrast of the picture, because they can, again, make the image smaller. So we improved the contrast. Didn't have to be drastic, just some. And then we sharpened it. Now, by sharpen it just means you're getting the edges of the pixels perfectly straight. So it has a more minor effect on overall, but it has an effect. So the enhancement for everything that was done here, that's all that was done. So it is an improvement, but there's just a limit to what you can do with this quality.
Is there a measure that you can identify as to what you actually did, for example, in enhancing? Meaning, is it a ascertainable change in the video itself?
Yes, you can see it and somebody can repeat it. We have the exact numbers. Photoshop gives you numbers. Somebody could take our system, one of our images, put it in Photoshop and do exactly what we did. No problem at all.
And they would know exactly what you did in enhancing that particular image?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you talked about compression. The compression that you were talking about, was that the compression that was taking place by the system itself, the surveillance system?
Correct.
Not by any compression that you were doing?
That's correct.
Because you didn't do any compression.
Well, the only compression we have to do is when you enhance the video and you want to make another video copy of it, which you have to do, what we do is we make it, let's say the compression made the file 500 kilobytes in size. We would use a compression that would make the file 5 or 6 times larger than that. So it means virtually there's no loss. The individual still images we can pull off with no effect at all. But the video, you'd be hard pressed to know that we did anything in the way of compression based on what it's there.
Enlargement. Describe and explain to the jury what that means, magnification or enlargement of the video.
I mean, it generally means you've got an image that I had up there, 240 by 320, and you want to make it something bigger than that. Because you want to make it so it's maybe easier to see in court. You want to make a print, whatever. You can make it, you can add pixels to make that happen.
Is there a proper way of enhancing forensically, of enlarging forensically, that you adhere to?
Yes, and it's what the books and everything else say too. It's not just our opinion.
Your Honor, I object,
You want to approach?
please.
So, Mr. Koenig, in this enlargement process, what process is it that you use in an effort to enlarge an image or a video?
It's called, it's a nearest neighbor is the name of the algorithm, but it has to be done in a certain mathematical way so it doesn't change the original image.
Your Honor, may I ask the witness to step down to demonstrate nearest neighbor for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes. Is he going to stay down for a while, or?
It's going to be, he's going to demonstrate it on the board. It'll probably be, I would imagine, 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay. All right, we'll reposition.
Mr. Koenig, please describe to the ladies and gentlemen what you mean by nearest neighbor enlargement or magnification.
Okay. Let's make a very simple thing here. I just 4 pixels in a square, call them ABCD. I want to make this larger into a square that's I apologize for my lack of artistic ability. So how do I make this bigger without changing what's there? I only have 4 pixels, and now I want to make it 16 pixels. Or I can make it whatever. The way to do it is nearest neighbor, if you do it, as long as you go in integers, in other words, double it each side, triple each side, make it 100, doesn't matter. So what happens when you do that, it makes this. And I have no idea why I'm not doing it differently. It's green and black. So in other words, you now have taken this 1 pixel and made it into 4. It's still the same square, it's just a bigger square. And the same thing with C, D, and E. And you can do this to any size as long as you're doubling. In other words, so we went from, this was 2 by 2. You could make this, 4 by 4, and on up. So as long as you continue to end up with squares, that you can make all the pixels identical, and the algorithm does it perfectly. So basically, when you do this, all of these A's are going to be absolutely identical to each other. So it'll be larger. You don't gain any detail. It's not an enhancement process. It just makes it so. So in this one, we have a small amount of pixels, but Mr. Escobar's office decided he would like to put it up on a big screen for Courtroom. So we made the images to blow up so they fit better on this. And again, we're still limited. If we said he wanted to make this 5 by 5, we'd have a trouble because we couldn't make the squares. So it's got to be, we always say, 1, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared. If you do that, you can constantly make it this way. There's no loss of information, but it makes it much bigger. And so instead of seeing on this big thing a picture that's maybe this size, you're going to see it to be that size. And it's exactly the same as the original.
So let's talk a little bit about, you talked earlier to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about grayscale and color.
Correct.
Tell me how a nearest neighbor works with that issue of grayscale and color.
It doesn't care what A is. It just makes identical copies of it. So whatever the pixel is, it does it. Color, black and white, doesn't matter.
Okay. Are there other ways of enlarging an image or a video that are not forensically acceptable, forensically?
Yes.
And would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury those particular ways and why they're not forensically acceptable?
Okay. You keeping this or?
No.
Okay.
Hold on now, let me see if I can get you black.
Okay. So, what if we start again with A, B, C, and we want to make it now okay, so we're going in these methods you don't need to have it be a certain anything. So we want to make it look like this. So now I've got, basically if I take what's originally over here, I've got A there and I got B here. I might not be counting these right. This is C and D. Okay. It doesn't do what the other one did, where we duplicated. It makes, based on the algorithm, guesses. So this is going to be A1, A2. This is probably going to be something like an AB. In other words, The machine, computer is just gonna decide, saying, okay, if this is black and this is white, well, I'm gonna make these gray. But if this is red and this one is green, then it's gonna put some colors in between. It doesn't know what you're taking a picture of. It doesn't know if you have lines. It doesn't do any of that. It's not like a human being that might actually do what I just said. It's like, oh yeah, there's a line there, so probably the line should continue over. But you don't know if the original here, let's say, was a line like this and a line like this. Well, it's got to decide, how do you blend from this to this? So it's going to do something in between. So in other words, all of these are guesses. All these blank areas do it. So you could end up, in a case, you could have 1A and you've added 50 extra pixels, none of which existed in the original at all. Or the other way I do it, it's there. If you do these kind of techniques, overall what it does, it softens the picture. So it doesn't actually add detail, but it will change what things look like. You can have something that's kind of squarish and now it's not. Or, it changes things.
Let's talk about that issue of the algorithm, because I think that's an important topic. When you're doing it, not the way you're doing it forensically, nearest neighbor, where you're doing it with bicubic or bicubic smoother and all the other algorithms, are you aware of what that algorithm is actually doing in order to enlarge the photo?
In a way you do, in a way you don't.
Okay.
Basically, the algorithm, like these kind of things, is mathematical. Somebody has made up a mathematical thing that says, okay, if you got this and this, do that. But there's nothing into that algorithm that tells you what you're doing. Is this a person's face you're looking at? Are you looking at vertical lines? Are you looking at a baseball field? It has none of that data. So it's meant to be extremely general. So if you must blow up something for a family picture or something, it's not forensic. You just try the various ones and see if you like one better than the other. It's not going to make the picture better. Like I said, it'll soften the picture. Like anything that's a straight line will now start looking less straight.
But there's no way of actually verifying what that algorithm did on that particular image.
Well, you could take what you started with. In fact, some of the algorithms don't even use the original pixels. I mean, they start there, but that original pixel may not even actually exist in there, depending on the algorithm.
And you can return. With you using nearest neighbor, can anyone come behind you and verify what you've done?
Yes, I mean, they're exactly copying the original pixels in a square.
Okay. Tell me what the word interpolation means.
It means you're interpreting, I mean, it's kind of how the word is, this algorithm is interpreting what these extra pixels that never existed in the original would be.
And so bicubic or bicubic smoother, those are the ones that have the algorithms that are out there and you don't know
Right,
much about?
they're very commonly used, but not forensically.
And they are interpolating that enlargement.
Yes, the algorithm is guessing what those pixels should be without having any knowledge of what the picture is.
Why is it that these companies don't give you exactly what they're doing with these algorithms? Why don't they give you all the formula so that you can actually see it and determine whether what they're doing is accurate or not? What's the reason?
Well, some of them, there's some general formulas out there for them, but they, even though I have a very...
Just calls for speculation.
has not.
Oh, all right.
Basically, they'll give you some of the general formulas, all Photoshop and all make up their own, modify them, but they're mathematical. They assign numbers to things and then do it. So you could potentially compute the numbers, but the numbers don't tell you what the end up picture is. It just says, oh, well, we're gonna give it this number, and that's it. And then, like you said, every company uses their own, they modify the general formulas.
And that's because it's proprietary to them, right? Their product.
Yeah, they want to have their product that they like the look of. So let's say, a company thinks they mostly do landscapes. So they might modify it in their program so that they think for a landscape, it seems to do the best job. Or if somebody's only doing portraits, maybe they could do it. But most of these programs do everything. They're not really aimed at one particular type of image.
Okay. Now, can interpolation occur by some other means? For example, by the screen itself that you're displaying your image or your video?
Say that again?
Can interpolation take place by other means, by the screen itself that you're playing your image or video?
Yeah, if you tell the screen, if it has that capability, to make it larger, it will.
Okay, and so you know the size of the images that we have here, the size of the video, right?
Right.
And how small is that size?
It was 320 by 240
And would you
pixels.
give the jury some indication of what that would be in size, in size as far as number of pixels? 76?
76,800.
Okay.
Multiply the two numbers together.
Okay, and so when you're playing or displaying an image or video on a screen, do you have to be careful because the screen itself may interpolate?
Absolutely.
And explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why that is a concern sometimes.
Well, it's what I said. In other words, they're not going to use nearest neighbor using exactly squared off pixels. You've got to make it do that. So these other ones, they're going to use whatever system they decide to use. They may not even tell you what it is, and they'll just blow it up. So you can end up with, the vast majority of the pixels are never from the original. The original might only have 1% of the pixels or something from it. So you don't know what you're getting. Like I said, it's guessing what it is. It can change the shapes of things completely. You wouldn't even recognize what it was before. If you use it in small amounts, obviously that makes less of a difference than if you have lots. So if you just wanted to go from 76,000 and make it 150,000, well, there would be differences, but they would be minor. But as you take more and more extra pixels, it's guessing even farther out. Like, here's a pixel here and here, and I got to put 10 extra pixels in there.
So correct me if I'm wrong, let me see if I understand this. You can actually interpolate by using software, for example, bicubic or bicubic smoother, where you're actually trying to enlarge the image or video. And then there's a second way, which is just displaying an image on the screen that will interpolate in and of itself.
That's correct. It's like if you have, like most high definition TVs, I think most people nowadays do, you have an option that says, whatever's there, make it fit on the screen. It's not an option I personally like. I guess I'm more technical, but for that. But if you do that, if your screen is this big and the original image is this big, it's going to make it fit. So everybody's TV nowadays has that capability just about.
And so here we have a big screen. It's my big screen, right?
Your
And
big
so,
screen.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you did in an effort to prevent this screen from interpolating on its own.
We blew the video up, and how we did this, so we didn't lose anything. The original files off the Q6, I don't know what the exhibit is, but Q6, were in a AVI format, okay? That's just a dot AVI at the end, okay? That is what we call a container format. In other words, you can have all kinds of formats in them. So you might have an AVI file that plays fine on your computer, or you might have a file that will never play on it. Okay? We then took that, and the player that comes with it, it's a Geo Vision, I think it is, yeah. It's all one word, capital GEO, capital VISION. Player has very limited capability. You can play, but we want to get the thing off. We use a different program, and I'll spell that. It's Graphic, G-R-A-P-H, no space, capital STUDIO, no space, capital NEXT. Graph Studio Next. It's a program that you can say, I have this file and I'd like to play it back. So it looks for a codec, as we call it, that will know that. Well, we have the GeoVision codec. So then we pull it off in an uncompressed format. That means no loss. It's a huge file because you're not compressing it. It's huge. We then can use that to make the videos we do, the still images we do, and again, other than the only time we have to recompress it is when we have enlarged it or something and we want a video, we do it. We just, again, do it at such a low compression level that you probably couldn't tell the difference. So that's how we pull it off without having any tools from GeoVision that can really do what we want it to do. So we can pull it off separately with its different software.
Now, let's talk about tools of GeoVision and tools of the software that you used. Is there a reason why you used tools that you used in this particular case that were not GeoVision?
Well, GeoVision, there's no way to pull it off in super high quality. They just pull it off so that an end user can look at the video. Here we want to do it perfectly, no loss. So we need a tool that's going to allow us to bring it off with no loss. And this is one of those kind of tools that allow us to pull it off, no loss, no more compression, everything's there.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit AA and ask you if you recognize this particular exhibit, Mr. Koenig.
I do.
And what is that an exhibit of?
Yeah, this is a MOV file. That's at the end, the suffix .mov. Shows a timeline, obviously, that you've dictated for that.
Okay, and did you view that particular thumb drive to determine whether that thumb drive came from the Q6 imaged hard drive of the Cobb Theater?
Yes, the original came from that.
And does
Correct.
that thumb drive contain a fair and accurate depiction of what you pulled from that hard drive in that thumb drive?
Yes.
Your Honor, we would move this AA into evidence.
Any objection?
Madam Clerk, would you like to have them individually bring to you, or do you want all seven at one time once it's? Or we would move this into evidence. I would imagine that would be Defense Exhibit number
Yeah.
1. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is it possible for me to do it all at one time once they're all introduced? Can I do that?
I got the list right here that I can mark on this, get one down this.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. It just saves time me going back and forth. If the thumb drive is the display the.
Yes. You
Thank you.
ready for that? For everybody to rearrange?
We are ready.
You gonna, was that gonna get any closer, or?
I'm planning to bring that up with Mr. Thunderbird in just a second.
Is that at number one now, Ted?
Yes.
All right.
Your Honor, I also ask Mr. Koenig to please step down so that he can testify from a position where he can actually hear the video.
Yes,
And may I move as well?
yes.
I think my voice is loud enough to be from here. Is that okay, Your Honor? Yeah, just go ahead and get it started, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Escobar,
Yes.
can you swing one of those microphones that's in front of the jury box, look over this, or there, either one. There's one right in front of
Very good.
these guys over towards you.
Oh,
See?
You mean?
Yeah. That might pick up a little better. There we go. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Koenig, what is this video mentioning at this point in time?
Now, this is talking about various clips, video clips, from the Q6 camera views that show the movement of the defendant throughout the theater.
And the issue of down here where it says it has been resized 200%, explain that to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yeah, they've been blown up to be larger. Most of these, to give you an idea, we were at, 320 by 240. These have been made to fit at 3840 by 2160 pixels. Again, no more information, just making it easier to see.
Okay. Mr. Thunderbird. Now, Dr. Matt, explain this particular screen concerning this video.
This is kind of rare. Most clocks and DVRs, the timers, sync for all the cameras. It's one system. Theirs doesn't. It's just how it is. So if you see you'll see the times at the bottom. I think they're at the bottom of these, if I remember right. And if you notice carefully, you'll see that times go one, even though you know it's later, it might be a time that's actually slightly earlier than the previous one. And that's just what's in the system.
Remember, this will approximately be 18 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
for a second. Now, Mr. Koenig, what does this mean? Where we're seeing a black screen and it says no recording, next image in, now it's in milliseconds, right?
This is two reasons this can happen. The main one is the motion detection says whatever they're reading says nobody's moving. So it just stops recording. And then it picks up. Second, it's less of a problem with most of these, but some of them, when they come back up, instead of being at 30 frames or images per second, is only at 10. So basically you get these real short ones, but basically it's not recording for small periods of time. The longer ones are, as you see.
And who is inserting this, this black screen here with the identification to the viewer?
We are. We're trying to make it so people understand that it's not actually black. It didn't record black. It just didn't record anything.
And so when it doesn't record anything, you're putting in this black screen to identify that it's not being recorded and when the next image for recording would come?
Yeah, we put that in if it's long enough. If it's real short, we don't, but
Put it in. stop right there. Now, Mr. Koenig, what have you done here in having this process here with cam 12, which would be the left side of the theater, is that correct, as you're facing the screen, and cam 11 on the right side?
Correct, they're showing the same area, but from opposite directions. It'd be like having a camera here and then one over there. You see the same, all of you in the jury, and the judge, but to different angles.
Matt, stop there for a second. You know, Mr. Koenig, we haven't seen any video recording for quite some time. Does that mean that nobody was moving at all? Or does that mean that the sensor wasn't picking whatever movement was taking place?
The answer to the second one, either the sensor didn't pick it up, but more than likely, it's the sensitivity itself was set. It required more movement than that to have something happen. Or, especially on the one on the left, or it might have been looking toward the center of the picture where nobody was sitting. So in that area, it's looking at, nobody moves. To them, and then nothing there. So it depends on, again, how it was set up, the original settings of the system.
And so the positioning of the cameras obviously would be important.
What?
The positioning of the cameras.
Well, I mean, I guess the motion sensor doesn't care where you put the camera in a sense. It's going to do that. But the cameras themselves are positioned to where somebody decided they wanted.
Good, Matt. Your Honor, can I do my question from here? Mr. Koenig?
Yeah, does it require the screen?
Yeah, we got another exhibit coming up. And if you could, go ahead and take that one. Can I approach you on it?
Yeah.
Mr. Koenig, I'm going to approach you and ask you to take a look at Exhibit II and tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury whether you recognize Exhibit II.
I do.
And how is it that you recognize that exhibit?
This is from Q6.
And do you have your initials on that?
I do.
And have you reviewed that particular thumb drive with its contents to determine whether it fairly and accurately depicts the contents that was in Q6?
I have, and it does.
And Q6 being the image hard drive from the Cop Theater video system on January the 13th of 2014.
Correct.
Your Honor, may I publish it? We would move to introduce this as evidence.
It'll be admitted.
Mr. Martin?
No objection. How long is this one, Mr.?
Your Honor, I will promise you that this one, we're not going to allow the blacks to just linger. We're going to move to the significant portions of this video, but it'll go probably a bit quicker.
All right.
We would move II into evidence.
Number two.
Number 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Stop right there, man. Mr. Koenig, what is this a video of?
This is one of the portions on Cam 11. We call that the right side of the theater interior. This is playing back at 1/4 speed. So the original was 20 seconds, it's now 80 seconds in time. It's played back. It's been enhanced as best you can with this stuff. And we have still the time captions that monitor.
And it's magnified 200%?
100%. And I should note that before the time, you probably realize this now, it's minutes, colon, seconds, dot, and then milliseconds on it.
Go forward to the relevant part. Go forward to the relevant.
No, I'll tell you when to.
Oh.
Stop there, Matt. And Mr. Koenig, this is what you meant by slowing it down, 25% of the rate, is that
It's
correct?
1/4 of the normal speed.
Okay, and that's to be able to focus and see it in a much slower manner?
Yeah, any of the action shots can now be seen slow. So sometimes in real time, it's so fast you don't catch everything.
Go ahead, Matt. Okay, Matt, next relevant section. Yeah. approach?
Yes.
Mr. Koenig, I'm going to show you what's marked as defense exhibit number X, and have you take a look at exhibit number X, and tell me if you recognize exhibit number X.
I do.
And how is it that you recognize that exhibit?
This label's been initialed and dated by me.
Okay, and have you viewed that particular thumb drive and to try to match it up with the portions in Q6 that correspond to that thumb drive?
Correct.
And does that thumb drive contain a fairly accurate depiction of what was in Q6?
Correct.
We would move defense exhibit X into evidence.
That's exhibit number 3.
It would be entered as number 3.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I publish it?
Yes.
Hey, Matt, stop there, please. Mr. Koenig, what is this video of, and what is being done to this video in order to play it for the members of the jury?
Again, cam 11 is, as you look at the screen, it's on the right side. Again, we've inserted black frames in there and put overlaid the actual time on the screen.
Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, that's okay, Matt, you're good, you're good. Go ahead, Matt, and move it forward to the relevant sections. Okay, Matt, next relevant section. Okay, stop there for a second. The second video clip in that particular exhibit is what? What are we doing with that video clip on that
Both
second?
first one, this one there, when we use the word direct means it's not enhanced. It's a direct copy of it. The first one was no magnification. This one has 200% magnification.
Next relevant section, Matt, please. Okay, Matt, next relevant section. Stop there. Mr. Koenig, what is this clip that we're about to show, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? How did we enhance it or magnify this one?
This is exactly the same as the last one, it's magnified, but this is enhanced, and you'll see basically the darker areas will be lighter.
And Matt, if you can use your magic and stop it where you want to stop it, right?
You're gonna stop. Oh, go to the next relevant.
No, stay there. Yeah, I just want you to stop. It's coming to this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, stop it right there, man. Now, Mr. Koenig, at a later point in time in these videos, did we ask you to focus on certain areas of the video that we believe were important?
Yes.
Wrong color.
Is this an area that we asked you to look at in the video with a bit closer look in other clips?
Correct.
Okay. Wait a minute. Next relevant area, Matt. Please. Okay. So what did we do here on this particular clip for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
We wanted to center on that area that you identified as of interest to you. So this area is magnified and enhanced, but it's centered over in that area.
Matt, when we stop it also at the magic place. Can stop it there. Is this an area that we asked you to focus on in the videos of the cop theater?
Correct.
And was there another area that was either a light source or a reflective source that we were interested in as well?
That's correct.
And later clips, you focused on those two particular areas?
Yes.
Go ahead, Matt. Stop, Matt. Now, those areas that I circled were approximately 8 seconds before the next clip that we're seeing with the alleged popcorn. Is that correct?
That sounds correct.
So 8 seconds at least passed between when you see that area that we were focusing on and the popcorn and the hands coming forward, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt. Stop. And you may have to go back. We'll do it on the next one. Over to you, Matt. Go ahead. Next relevant, read my mind. Mr. Koenig, on this particular video clip, what are we doing?
Same as the last one. We have enhancement, same area, still centered on the area your office is designated. And this will be double the magnification from 200 to 400.
Matt, I want you to stop it again at its place when we... Okay. Mr. Koenig, is that an area that we asked you to focus on in this particular video from the cop theater at a later clip?
You did.
And likewise, did we ask you to focus on that particular area of the video of the cop theater?
You did.
And can you tell, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, how many pixels are depicted in the smaller circle area that I have just pointed out to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Lighted pixels here is a total of 6 pixels.
That means that that is a rectangle, 6
Yes.
pixels? And again, this is a depiction of some movement at least 8 seconds before. Oh, the judge wants to see. Sorry.
That's it.
This is a depiction of movement at least 8 seconds before we first see the hand moving forward on the next series of images. Is that correct?
Approximately, yes.
Stop, Matt. Right there. Stop. Mr. Koenig, later on, did we ask you to pull some PNG individual images in order to capture a movement that we believed was Mr. Reeves's?
I'm not going to object to testifying.
Did we ask you to pull some individual images? I will rephrase it. Some individual images in order to take a look at the area of the left side of Mr. Reeves's face.
We were asked to pull the still images. We pulled them off without any change, and made a PNG again, is a uncompressed, slightly compressed, but it's a lossless format. In other words, it doesn't compress, it doesn't change it.
And we'll be playing those later. Go ahead, man.
We should note that when the gun went off,
Yeah,
that's
right.
dust coming down.
Excuse me.
All right, stop, man, for a second.
You going to ask him a question?
I can't,
Yeah.
We see a bunch of bubbles. Would you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what those bubbles possibly reflect?
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes, we fired it, shockwave. They probably don't dust the ceiling in the theater very often, and that's what came out.
Go ahead, man. Next relevant section. Okay, so on this particular video clip, what are we doing, Mr. Koenig, in order to describe what the jury is about to see?
It's the same as the very last one, large magnification, centered on the appropriate area you've designated, and it's playing back at 1/2 speed.
Okay, Matt? And stop it at the appropriate areas, Matt, okay? Those are two areas that later on we've asked you to focus on and provide us some film of those two particular areas.
You did, yes.
And well, we'll talk about them when we get there. Matt, can you go back just a little bit on that? I want to ask. Oh. All right. Okay, right there. Did you do any work in an effort to try to focus on that light source, whether it was reflective or a light itself? Did you do any work specifically to try to enhance and magnify and have a focus on that particular area?
Yes, we looked at it. I mean, you can't really directly tell.
And tell me why a forensic expert like yourself cannot tell what that is.
Well, I guess first off, I don't have magic eyes. Every one of you can look at the video and see what's there. I can measure things, pull them off, do things like that. You can't. Well, maybe some of you can. But we can only tell you what's there. You can see this as well as I can see it. And there's nothing I can measure. It's 6 pixels. It's in a rectangle. It's obviously lighter than the background. But beyond that, I can't say.
Go ahead, Matt. get ready to start this up. A little bit further back, Matt. Stop. Again, the pixel individual PNGs that we asked you to pull were from the left side and the right side of Mr. Reeves's face. Later on, we're going to be playing those, correct?
That's correct.
Go ahead, Matt. Next relevant section, Matt. Okay, stop there. Okay, I believe this is the last clip of this particular video. Would you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what we're doing here in order for them to be able to understand this video?
This is exactly the same as the last. Enhanced, centered on that, 400% magnification, but now it's going to play back 1/4 speed.
You're ready to stop it, man. Stop. Again, at a future video, did you do anything with that particular section in order to focus on that more thoroughly and closer for viewing?
Yes.
Okay. And in those other clips, did you also put circles on the two movements that were important to the defense?
You remarked about, I don't remember, some of them were rectangles on, but I think they're mostly circles.
Okay. Matt, can you go back a little bit so we can start that segment again, please? Right before that, Matt. Stop. A little bit further forward. Go ahead. Your Honor, we're gonna go a little bit out of sequence, Matt, if we can stop that one. And can you give me Exhibit CC? And the only reason is we're running out of time. And I trust, Your Honor? Mr. Koenig, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit CC and ask you to please take a look at it and see if you can identify that.
Yes.
And did you view that particular thumb drive to determine whether it fairly and accurately depicted the contents of Q6?
I did.
And does it?
It does.
Your Honor, we would move CC into evidence.
Exhibit 4. Looking at it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Segment 1. Okay, stop. Please. Mr. Koenig, what do we have here now? Something you call looped video. What is, please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what a looped video is.
Means we've taken a section, small section of time, and played it back over and over and over again.
Okay. Is that pretty common in forensics?
Yes.
And that was from cam 11, which would have been the camera to the right if you're facing the screen?
That's correct.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt. And this is 400 magnification?
Yes.
And the segment that we're playing here is about approximately 8 seconds before the popcorn event. Is that correct?
Sounds right. That the segment itself is about 1.5 seconds.
Segment number 2. Now, this particular segment has some additional highlighted areas, a red circle and a yellow circle, is that correct?
That's correct.
Highlighting movement,
Yes.
400% magnification.
Yes.
Go ahead, Matt. Next segment, Matt.
Mr. Escobar, I have a question about that last 2. What was the speed of those 2?
Yeah, that wasn't speed adjusted, I don't believe.
It's a regular speed.
Okay, so what, Matt, let's go back to the actual instructions so that we can identify what this is. And so, this is a similar clip, except it's going backwards and forward. Explain to the jury what that means.
That means if I move forward like this, the other one would stop there and then go back to go, this one, I go forward, and then it shows me just backing up to the beginning again. So it goes forward and back in time.
Okay. And this is at 400% magnification
Correct.
and no adjusted speed.
That's correct.
Again, Mr. Koenig, this is a segment of the video that precedes any of the popcorn, about 8 seconds.
Correct.
Next segment. Okay, this one is 1 minute loop enhanced, correct?
Correct.
Red circles highlighting and yellow circles highlighting movement, correct?
Correct.
50% playback, 400% magnification, so half the speed on this
But
one.
it's only in the forward direction, no backward.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt. Next segment, Matt. Okay. What is this?
Same as the last one, 50% playback speed, enlarged in that area, enhanced, but this one includes the backward. So forward, and then it's played backward. And then forward and backward.
Next segment, Matt. What is this clip illustrating?
Again, it's a loop about 1.5 seconds, enhanced, only in the forward direction here, red circling and the yellow circling. This is at 1/4 speed, same 1.5 seconds.
And 400% magnification.
Yes.
Go ahead, Matt. Next segment, Matt, I believe it would be the last one. Okay, so what do we have here?
And this would be, again, that 1.5 second, forward and backward loops. Enhance, red circle, the highlighted object, yellow circle where the movement is, 25% playback, high magnification, approximately centered on the ear.
Again, this being approximately 8 seconds before the next clip with the hands in the alleged popcorn.
Correct.
Go ahead, Matt. Thank you, Matt. Your Honor, may we approach?
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've reached a stopping point for today. There's a bit more to go, and it would take us way past the time when we can stay for today. So I'm going to let you go now. Please remember all my instructions. Hang on, I can't see everyone. Please remember all my instructions during the recess. Don't do any independent research of any sort. Don't discuss the facts of the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. And I will see you back, report back to the jury pool room about 8, whatever time you need to be there. We want to start at 8:30. And if possible, could you check and see or make arrangements? We may work a little later tomorrow night. Is that going to be a problem for anyone? I'd like to, we may be able to do that tomorrow night if possible, okay? All right, any questions for today? All right, thank you for your continued attention.
All rise for the recess at